Hello everyone, I'm Montella. If you want to know anything about me, I love Michael Myers and I used to main him in Dead by Daylight. Now, you might have noticed I said that in the past tense because Michael Myers has one of the worst and most outdated designs in Dead by Daylight, and behavior seemingly refuses to change him for the better due to inflated stats. Now, because I am just the human being with the best timing and best luck on Earth, I've been hearing talk about behavior actually having plans to change him while I was making this video, so that's pretty good to hear. I heard that was said on a Reddit AMA or Reddit Q&A, whatever the fuck. I don't know, so I wouldn't count on it being too soon, but I'm glad that Myers is being worked on. So I feel like this is the perfect time for me to actually get this video out, so just in case somebody from behavior sees it and they're like, hey, this guy's a good idea. I doubt that'll happen, but hey, enjoy the video, I don't care. In today's video, we will be discussing the glaring issues with Myers' design and what could be done without completely changing his ability. That being keeping his stealth aspects and keeping his stalking ability, but we're going to shift a lot of what's strong about it, a lot of what's weak about it, and we're just going to find the right spot so he isn't horrible or overpowered. Myers finds himself at the bottom of just about everyone's tier list, and if not the bottom, like low. Like bottom three level low, with Freddy and Trapper. This is made even worse by behavior giving him the sound design of your average nursemaid stubbing his toe. So let's just get into it. Michael Myers originates from the 1978 film Halloween. He was released on October 25th, 2016, the anniversary of the film, and my 9th birthday, so that's pretty cool. I was born on the, anniversary of Halloween, but that's besides the point. In the game's killer power is called Evil Within. The tier is indicated through the clarity of the mask being out of the darkness and a Roman numeral on the power icon. Survivors will know your tier has increased through an audio cue that sounds like the Halloween theme. In Tier 1 Evil Within, Michael Myers moves at the second slowest base walking speed in the game of 105% or 4.2 meters per second, with a standard vault speed, a lunge time of 0.2 seconds, and he is undetectable. If you don't know what the undetectable status effect is, it means your aura can't be seen and you don't have a tear radius. In Tier 2 of Evil Within is when Michael Myers becomes a standard M1 killer. He walks at 4.6 meters per second. He has a 16 meter tear radius, which is half of the average tear radius in the game. He has the average lunge time of about 0.5 seconds, and he does have a slightly enhanced vault speed of 1.48 seconds. Don't get it twisted though, he is still an M1 killer, meaning he's probably still going to have a lot of difficulty catching up with Survivor, even if he does vault slightly faster and have a smaller tear radius. Now we get to Evil Within 3. Myers moves the same speed as Tier 2, 4.6 meters per second, has an enhanced lunge of 0.6 seconds. His tear radius is doubled to 32 meters, and his vault time is further reduced to 1.275 seconds. Alongside all of this is the most important attribute of Evil Within 3. Every survivor gets exposed for 60 seconds, meaning if Myers catches them, he is able to instantly down them. As mentioned before, Myers gets these tiers through stalking and starts at Tier 1, obviously. Each tier requires 5 points, in which each individual survivor has 10.1 stalk points, and stalk points are limited, adding up to a total of 40.4 stalk points in a game. Subtract the 5 required to reach Tier 2 at the beginning. As Myers, you have 35.4 stalk points to work with. 35.4 stalk points equates to about 7 Tier 3s in a game, unless you kill a survivor before milking them completely dry of stalk points, which is just weird. We're going to delve into that whole issue later. Myers has an array of add-ons that either slightly or drastically modify his playstyle. We will discuss those soon, but most of his add-ons, I'd say they're honestly pretty useless, but his ones that aren't useless, they're pretty notable. I briefly discussed stalking points in the previous segment, explaining how they work, the capacity of stalk points in a match, and how much are needed for Myers to go up a tier. But it's important to take note of the fact that I said stock points had a capacity, a limit, meaning you could just run out. This is one of the easiest and quickest flaws to see that Michael Myers has. Hell, even fucking Stevie Wonder could see. Myers is the only killer in the game that stops being able to have a power. Even the other terrible killers such as Freddy and Trapper are at least able to keep some form of a power in the endgame. Myers' power can punish you for, killing people potentially too early through not being able to stock them anymore because they're dead. On the contrary, you can also lose your power through using it too much, alongside using add-ons that give you less total tier 3s for more time in each individual tier 3. Because the amount of total stock points you have in a game doesn't go up when you have to stock more for a longer tier 3. No, you're just able to get less tier 3s mathematically. The early game is the most important part of a killer's match. I'd say Myers is the second worst offender when it comes to a horde early game, only second to our beloved poster boy Trapper. Thank the Lord the wiki exists, because I wouldn't get these numbers without it. It's fucking hard. Now, into the actual numbers, Myers has a limited stock range of 2.5 meters away from him to 39.85 meters away from him. Meaning, if you're too close to him, in which he loses collision when he's stalking, so you can be too close to him, he can't stalk you. When you're beyond about 40 meters away, he can't stalk you. At the furthest, he stalks at 10% speed, and at closest, obviously he stalks at 100% speed. Now, what I never got about this is the fact that Ghostface has no such restriction to his stalking speed depending on range, and he has about the very similar range to Myers. And Myers is never stalking up close in the movies. He's usually trying to kill you if he's that close. At maximum, he stalks at a stalk speed of about 0.8333 stalk points per second, which means the fastest he can move up a tier is 6 seconds, which doesn't sound too bad until you realize you have to be super close for this, and you're about 6.5 feet tall, which alongside being just so easy to see, in tier 1 you're about as fast as a Ford Model T, meaning survivors can easily break line of sight in tier 1 as long as they don't rely on echolocation as a way to find where they're going. All this adds up to you basically just sweating your nuts off to become a basic M1 killer with no chase power. It is essentially required you run at least one stalk speed add-on if you want to get anything done with Myers at a rate of only 2 gens popping before you get your first tier 3, just to get 1 or 2 downs with it, hoping you don't get hit with a fucking flashy save or a pallet stun. Myers add-ons are some of the most unique but poorly designed add-ons in the game, and also the reason he doesn't get buffs, as his kill rates are inflated due to his Tombstone add-ons. His Tombstone add-ons are add-ons that let you instantly kill any survivor once you're close enough, as long as you're in tier 3. This is where a vast majority of Myers' kills come from that stop his kill rate from being the lowest in the game. People commonly say that Myers is top tier with these add-ons, but I still can't disagree more, as he's still a basic M1 killer and needs to be in M1 range to pull off a Tombstone. And honestly less, because you can't lunge to get a Tombstone either. You have to be within a tap range. And he has limited time in tier 3 with Tombstone equipped, unless you run his Fragrant Touch of Hair add-on, which makes it infinite, with his Iridescent Judith Tombstone add-on, which also does kind of just suck because it makes you 9% slower, meaning you have to run with play through food or you're just cooked. Nonetheless, Tombstone is countered by survivors just jumping in lockers for the most part. Survivors jumping in lockers and literally just sticking gens because Myers can only grab you off the gen if you stick the gen, which doesn't give him the Tombstone prompt because you have to just be out in the open, not interacting with anything to be Tombstoned. Both of his Tombstone add-ons, both Iridescent and Purple, just kind of prey on lower skill survivors for value, and against better survivors, they're not going to get Tombstoned. And besides how little value Tombstone can actually get against good survivors, it just takes so long to get Tombstone. It takes longer to get Tombstone than it takes for an average Skull Merchant main to get laid. It's just insane. In reality, both the Tombstone add-ons are kind of just add-ons that slow down Myers' early game, just so he could get a kill as fast as he could have if he just tunneled the survivor out. And again, since it does take longer to stalk to get tier 3 when you have Tombstone, that means even less tier 3s in a game. And if you fail to Tombstone someone, like say it's like a bad map or they're playing around good tiles where you can't catch up to them, not only have you most likely wasted a tier 3, you've already lost out on multiple tier 3s that game by just bringing the add-on because of how long it makes it take to get tier 3. And then not only have you wasted tier 3s that you could have gotten if you didn't bring that add-on, you are also losing out on so much time that you could have spent chasing survivors or pressuring gens or regressing gens by stalking to get that, tier 3 for Tombstone, because it takes so fucking long. In the end, I do think that Myers' Tombstone add-ons are very problematically designed and they are not healthy for the game, but I don't particularly think that they are strong. And I think this is one thing we really do need to rework and change about him. And honestly, I'd be completely fine with just doing away with them, because they just don't have, I don't think they have a place in modern Dead by Daylight. And I think if we rework him, that should be more than enough compensation for removing his, I guess, technically strongest add-ons, as a lot of people consider them. After going through the specific flaws of Myers, it probably comes down to a time commitment for Little Reward and his gameplay being so rigid and unadaptable. With so little skill expression and adaptation, when the survivors have you in a bad spot as Myers, there's almost no coming back from it. Now, generally, I think him being an M1 killer is fine. On average, they're weaker but still fine. He's kind of just lacking something that makes him viable. And the thing is, with Ghostface being in the game and being the objectively better stalking M1 killer, I think some changes should be made. I want Myers in a state where he isn't just a downgraded Ghostface, but he could still be stronger than he currently is with his own, like, upgraded version of the stalking gimmick, because he's just so outdated. As we know, Myers is an old character. Myers was added in a time before powers were as complex as they can be now, and I think we should add an update adding a little bit more complexity to his power that isn't baffling to understand, just to make it less stupidly plain and simple, and I think that can already do him some justice. My idea is that there could be changes to Myers' tiers and strength of tier 1 if we could give the players the ability to switch back into it. I'll get more into why you would want to soon when I get to my ideas about tier 1 changes. But my first idea for tier switching is that you'd be able to press control and you could swap through tiers 1 and 2 without needing additional stock after getting enough stock for tier 2, and you could only stock for points to tier 3 while in tier 2. That could be changed to where you could stock for tier 3 and tier 1. I don't know how balanced that would be. I'm not a balance expert. I would also give Myers a quality of life buff where you don't need to 99 your stock for tier 3 to pop. I think this would make it a lot more consistent to pop tier 3 as Myers, so you wouldn't accidentally pop it from like lag or some shit, which has happened to me a bunch. And I feel like it would be kind of similar to Oni's Blood Fury. You could like hold control, or after you're done stalking, you could right click again and then you could pop tier 3. This would make it more practical trying to pop tier 3 in the right moment, and would prevent popping tier 3 on accident, which would waste your time and your power. As I mentioned earlier, I'd be making changes to tier 1, and the tier 1 changes are fairly simple. I just reduce the nerfs given to him in tier 1 while still allowing him to be undetectable. Now, I'm not going to like make him move at full speed or give him like better vault time like he does have in his other tiers. Instead, I'd give him a lunge time of 0.4 seconds, that being 0.1 seconds less than the average lunge time, you know, for every other killer, and double what he has currently in tier 1. And I would also make him move at a 4.4 movement speed instead of a 4.2, meaning he is still slow, but he's not unbearably slow, and he's still fast enough to get the jump on somebody while he's undetectable, instead of, you know, just being pitiful and able to be seen from like a mile away and just being terrible. So it's still slower than the average killer, meaning he wouldn't be too tough in chase. Again, it's just not painfully slow. My idea for this version of tier 1 is that it can still be threatening when sneaking up on you without it being too oppressive, but let Myers have a better stealth aspect that he's able to freely use through tier switching, as I suggested before, like a character like Ghostface, Wraith, or even, you know, Pig and Sadako. While their stealth isn't that good, they still have stealth aspects. And also, most of these characters, or well, 3 of them, are able to move normal speed or faster while in their stealth mode. By faster, I mean Wraith. By normal speed, I mean Ghostface and Sadako. Pig is probably the worst here when it comes to stealth. That being said, though, I think these are reasonable buffs to give to tier 1 that don't make it too oppressive, but still make it threatening. Because honestly, the only way to make tier 1 powerful is to put him on one map, and that one map is Larry's. Like, the way I'm viewing it is I want tier 1 to be the tier where you get cheeky, you know, funny little hits in, and tier 2 to be the mode where you do like okay M1 chases and then drop chase and go back into stealth, and then tier 3, you know, is tier 3, you just get the insta downs. As I've mentioned before, Myers being limited on stock points in a game is probably the most detrimental part of his kit, so I had an idea on how to change that. My idea would be to not limit the amount of stock points he has in a game. but I would nerf the amount you need to stock from people. So now how you need to stock 5 to go from tier to tier. My idea is that you would need to stock for 6 points so you could get tier 2, and you would need to stock for 10 points to get tier 3 every time though. But I would not keep his current stocking rate the same. Obviously, like 10 points at the current rate with the range limits and shit, no, that's horrible. So this is why I'm nerfing the amount of time it would take for him to need to stock. I would increase his stock point rate to 1 stock point per second of stocking and remove the range limitations of the stock. So it would be a flat 1 point per second all the time. This would mean to obtain tier 2 and, be able to switch between tier 1 and tier 2. Now, I'm not saying he needs to stock for tier 2 multiple times. Obviously, you just press control to switch. But to unlock tier 2 so you could be able to swap between them, you would need to stock for 6 points. And no matter what tier you're in, you could stock for 10 seconds, aka 10 points, to get tier 3 and then be able to pop it. This would obviously be changeable with add-ons, and these numbers could be slightly adjusted if this idea is ever implemented. But what matters most is the concept and functionality of this power, in which I think this change to the fundamental functionality of stocking points and how you obtain them and how they work in game does that job well enough. At least I'm open to suggestions or ideas in the comments, but this is what I came up with. Okay, so my changes to tier 3 are probably the very most simple out of all my changes, because I think tier 3 is generally kind of fine, but he is still a basic 1 killer. So I would do 2 things. I would make him exit tier 3 so he isn't wasting time in tier 3 when he's carrying survivors. So basically just the exact same as Oni's Blood Fury. And I would give him a 10% faster pallet break speed in tier 3 to make chases a little bit better. Because we've seen in the movies, I'm gonna go a little bit on a lore aspect, but that's when he's I feel like tier 3 would be when he's really trying to kill you. Think of the final act of Halloween, the original one, where he's breaking through the closet to try and get to Lori, right? So I think it would make sense and also help him as an M1 killer. So it makes sense both gameplay and lore wise that he's just able to break stuff faster when he's really trying to kill you, which is in tier 3. Alright, now onto his Tombstone add-ons. My first change, I would change the Iridescent add-on, Judith's Tombstone, into a one-time use, right? So it's going to work the exact same as current Tombstone piece. So you're not going to get that, speed reduction. But you will only be able to insta-kill 1 survivor throughout the entire game, and it has to be in your first tier 3. Then after that, you're just going to be in tier 3 normally. We could also make it take longer to get tier 3, but that's on the devs to decide. While I was writing this script, I genuinely spent a very long time trying to figure out what to do with Tombstone Piece. Now, since we're making Tombstone Piece into the Iridescent add-on, what do we do with Tombstone Piece? And when I went back to edit the tier 3 segment, since I had no idea what to do with Tombstone Piece, I had an idea. So my idea is that when a survivor is injured, you are able to gain 2 times the amount of stock points from them if they are injured. This would encourage pressuring people in tier 1 and 2 with your stealth as a standard M1 killer, but it would also encourage taking the risk of dropping chase where they could possibly reset, because I would also add the caveat that for you to get the 2 times stalking speed on an injured survivor, you would need to be 12 meters away from them. So it's not like you just injure a survivor, then as soon as they're still close to you, you just start stalking them. We could maybe increase this range if that feels a little bit too close, but I'm thinking that range is just fine. So again, it would encourage taking a risky hit and run playstyle and then just going back into the shadows, hiding, and letting them get distance, so you can have that quick, impactful strength that the Tombstone add-on had before. Because it was very sudden just to get Tombstone, but this would be very sudden in a different way. Holy shit, he's getting tier 3 really fast. That's my idea. Alright, this last change isn't a gameplay change, but to be honest, Myers doesn't really look that good anymore. I just think he should get a new, more intimidating model, as his current one quite clearly a product of being made by an indie game studio in 2016, and isn't quite in line with the quality of models we have for characters that get released today, such as the Unknown, or even a year ago, the Dredge. I would also like for his voice to be removed. Sorry, but it's just so goofy. Michael has been shot in movies and stuck in a burning basement without making a noise. I think he can go without sounding like he weighs 500 500 pounds when he gets smacked by a piece of wood. I would also hope something could be worked out with the Halloween license holders for skins such as 2018 Myers, but this cosmetic stuff comes last as gameplay is the focus and the priority of this video. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. This video was my sort of comprehensive wish list or concept for a Myers rework or buff. Sorry if this video is a little all over the place. I haven't made a video of this nature in a while, and I got a little ambitious with my concept due to my sheer just love for this character and my desire to just see him doing better. My idea with this rework concept was to keep his identity but modernizing it and improving the strength of his ability. If by some 1 in a million chance someone at behavior sees this video, feel free to take from it. That's what it's for. I don't care. I just want my favorite horror character of all time to get the justice he deserves in game, no matter who you are though. Thank you so much for watching this video and have a good day or night, whatever time it is for you. Oh, and by the way, if you've made it this far in the video, I've been streaming as much as I can on Twitch, so say hi if you want. I do play Dead by Daylight, but I've been branching out to other games as Dead by Daylight hasn't felt the best recently. I'll also be making videos on other games hopefully, and again, if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching.